أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة وعلى أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. What defines the character of a human being? What is the defining factor of a person? What is it that gives a person value? Is it the clothes that he wears, or the clothes that she wears, or the way that she was created or he was created, and they have no power over that ability? They have no power over the way that they look. If they were created handsome, or if they were created not so handsome or pretty, or not so pretty. Or is it the attire that they wear, what they dress in, the clothes that we wear, and we make sure that the brand of the clothing is apparent? So does this then make a person a better person, or a more valued person, if the brand of the item that they are wearing is showing? Obviously these things are superficial and material. What shows the true value of a human being is the intellect and character of a human being. But the intellect and character of a human being is something that's hidden, something that we cannot see immediately upon glancing at somebody. This is why of the greatest things that shows the character of a person is his tongue. Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi alayh, he says that تَكَلَّمُوا تُعْرَفُ, that speak and you shall be known. فَإِنَّ الْمَرْءُ مَخْبُوءٌ تَحْتَ لِسَانِ, that surely mankind is hidden beneath his tongue, or beneath the folds of his tongue. That speak and you shall be known, for verily the character of man, or the value of man, is beneath his tongue. When one speaks, you see what is within his character, what is within his mind. Regardless of what is being worn, regardless of what they wear. They could be wearing a cloak and a turban and still know nothing. Or they could be wearing, for example, a suit and claim to be a doctor, and the people around them call them a doctor, and they still know nothing. Most recently there was a case in the United States of a man, after his death he wrote a letter to everybody, and he told them about his life and who he really was. In the community, he had a PhD in electrical engineering. He was a doctor in electrical engineering. And he had so many accolades with a certain company, and he died eventually, I believe, of lung cancer. So in his will, he wrote to everybody that I never graduated from university. That one day, a certain university, the University of Utah, I believe, sent me a degree. They sent me the PhD under my name to the wrong address, so I never returned it. I just took it and I got a job with it. And then he just passed his life off like that with what he said. And he lived his life as a doctor in electrical engineering, helping repair and build and maintain electronics for a certain company. And after he died, he wrote that this is what happened in my life, etc., etc. It was written in a couple of newspapers about a month ago. The point is that this person, although he was dressed and he had the degree, nobody probably paid attention to what he actually said. Nobody paid attention to what his actual character was, therefore they took him to be as that. But the true character of a human being is found beneath their tongue. This is why we have the inverse saying, or the inverse proverb, where it is said that it is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. So in other words, sometimes you might be seen and people think, oh, this person looks like a smart and wise person. But when they open their mouth and you realize, hold on a minute, everything they said just threw all my anticipation of their status and character out of the window because of what they had said. So ultimately, whatever you say, this is what shows the character and the value of a person. You look at a human being. A human being may lose his bodily functions, he may lose his physical abilities, and yet he will still be treated as a good member of society. We have Olympians, we have Paralympians. We have, of our most prominent scholars and physicists, are people that have lost ability of their body, however their brain is still there. And what comes out of their tongue, what comes out of this brain, this is what we base their character on. This is what we base the character on of these people. Now, if somebody loses their brain function, for example, or somebody lacks the intellect, or somebody lacks the correct words to describe their intellect or describe their thoughts, their intellect or their thoughts, then you see that that person is shunned. And thus the saying of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi alayhi, one day he walks past a man and he sees that this man is speaking too much. He's talking a lot about nothing. He's just speaking extra words. So the Imam says, woe unto you. Do you not know that what you speak, you are dictating a book? As you speak, you are dictating and the angels are writing down. And they are sending this letter or this book that you are writing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That everything you say is of your actions. Whatever you say a good word, it gets counted as a good action. You say a bad word, it gets counted as a bad action. It's very easy for somebody to mistaken people for something that they are not. For example, we have a look at the story of Al-Muqaddas Al-Ardabili. This scholar, this great alim in the Shia world, was one day some visitors came towards him to visit him. And so they were going through the streets looking for him, looking for where his house is, because his house was on the outskirts of town. So as they're going through, they meet with a youth. So they say to this youth, we are looking for the grand alim, Al-Muqaddas Al-Ardabili. Can you show us which way to his house? He says, that fool, what do you want with that fool? He knows nothing. So they grab him and they beat him up. They beat him up really good. They punch him and they kick him and they throw him away. And they continue and they ask someone else and they find the path. When they get to the house, they sit down and there's a servant in the house. He says, Al-Muqaddas Al-Ardabili will be here shortly. And then they see a man walked in who is the man that they just beat up. And he sits down and he puts his turban on. And they say, we are so sorry, we apologize. He says, don't apologize. He says, when you came in search of me and mentioned that high title of my name, I felt a little bit of pride. So I wanted to discipline myself. So this is why I said this, and I copped a beating to discipline myself. And then they go on and they visit him. The point is, no matter how much people hide or try and show that they are something that they are not, their words will always give them away. Sayyedah Zainab salawatullahi alayha, who we are commemorating the martyrdom of this great woman, who is known as Al-Alima Ghayra Mu'allama, that she is someone that is knowledgeable without sieving knowledge. She is known as the mountain of patience, Jabal al-Sabr, that she was a mountain of patience. These characteristics of this great woman, that even after the Umayyad Empire, or the Umayyad dynasty, destroyed the progeny of the Holy Prophet ﷺ in the plains of Karbala. Then they took the women prisoner. And they locked up these women and they dragged them through the streets from town to town and village to village. And throughout this period, obviously these women's clothes became torn. They looked scruffy, that they didn't look clean, that people would believe it when they said, these are prisoners of war that we have captured. Now, mind you, when they say prisoners of war that we had captured, this is not the Islamic way to treat a prisoner of war, but it is the Umayyad way to treat a prisoner of war. So they would say, these are just prisoners of war, and people would assume, oh, they must be prisoners of war. Until they got to the court of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. When they were inside the court of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, as soon as Sayyedah Zainab salawatullahi alayha spoke, everybody knew who she was. Everybody knew the value of this personality. The way that she responded, if you think about the situation, if you think about a woman that is the daughter, or was the daughter of the Khalif, is the grand of Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah. She is the daughter of the Khalif, the granddaughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. She is the daughter of Fatima al-Zahra salawatullahi alayha. That just look at this pedigree alone is enough. That if she was a personality in the modern world, at minimum she would be a princess. At minimum. Somebody of the rank of a princess. Imagine somebody of that degree and that caliber. People that are of that status usually can't handle much hardship. So if they fall into hardship or difficulty, they are destroyed by this hardship and difficulty. Even the smallest hardship, they are destroyed by it. It harms them, it hurts them because it's difficult. But Sayyedah Zainab salawatullahi alayha, not only was she resilient, but the response that she gave showed her characteristics. When Ubaydullah asks her, he says, "Ma ra'ayti," he says, "Kayfa ra'ayti sun'a Allah bi akhiki wa ahla baytiki." How do you see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done with your brother and your progeny, your Ahl al-Bayt, the people that are related to you? Because he was implying that this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had predestined. Allah had predetermined. Not in the way that they understand predetermination. Obviously, to a degree, in Islam, we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala determines things. We agree that there is a degree of destiny and determination from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but not something that you can't come out of. Without going into too much details in explaining qada wa qadar, when we talk about when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rules upon something, or He destines something to be, these two things, without going into too much detail, they ask one of the Imams. So the Imam says it is a bit of both. It is between both. And the man says, how so? I think it's Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says to the man, raise one leg. So the man raises one leg. He says, now raise the other leg. He says, I can't. So he says, there's certain things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put you on the line for that. And there's certain things, no, you can change. That you fall into that situation. That it is as if, obviously, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had decreed that Abu Abdullah al-Husayn salawatullahi alayhi would be martyred in this manner. But who will martyr him? Who will fight with him? Who will fight against him? Is this not ultimately what this whole world is about? Isn't it all about a trial? لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيَّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. That the whole thing is about trial. So these trials must come about. And so when he asks her this, she says to him, مَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا هَؤُلَاء قَوْمٌ كَتَبَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقَتْلِ فَبَرَزُوا إِلَى مَضَاجِعِهِمْ وَسَيَجْمَعَ اللَّهُ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُمْ فَتُحَاجُّ وَتُخَاصَمْ فَانظُرْ لِمَنَ الْفَلَجْ يَوْمَئِذٍ. She says to him that I have not seen from Allah except what is beautiful. This is her answer to him. When he says, how do you see what has happened to your brother and the family? She says, I have not seen except what is beautiful from Allah. And these are a people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had destined. They are to go out into battle and be martyred and killed. However, there will be a day when you and them are brought forth. And then you will see who are the victorious and who are the losers. That you will be tried and a proof will be shown before you that these people were there. Why did you kill them? Look at the outlook of Sayyedah Zainab salawatullahi alayha. That within these words, within that answer, in the most difficult of situations, if you really try and imagine the whole situation, it's something that crushes the heart. To think that Sayyedah Zainab salawatullahi alayha, throughout the stages of her life, the difficulties that she went through, but most specifically on that day, the day of Ashura, when she herself hands the battle steed to Imam al-Husayn salawatullahi alayhi, that she brings the horse forward and gives it to him. There's no men left to bring the horse of death to her own brother. This is something that we can't fathom, we can't comprehend. And after she sees this, she is firm and strong enough, and after imprisonment and travel through all these towns, she still has the ability to come up with a response like this. If this incident was to be superimposed on the modern day, you would notice that they would say that Sayyedah Zainab is someone that is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, that she has been through such a difficult time, that the only thing that we can fix this with is therapy. And this is what they say to us all the time. If we go through any hardship that we can't comprehend or we don't understand, and we go to the doctor and we say, I'm stressed, this is all too difficult for me, the doctor says, here, have some pills. Try this, try these nerve relaxants. Try these antidepressants. And they begin to hand out the drugs. This is exactly what they give for you to try and take you away from these stressful situations. On the contrary, Sayyedah Zainab salawatullahi alayha, have a look, obviously without any depiction of this lady and what we call today as modern PTSD, we see that why did Sayyedah Zainab respond in this manner? That within this response is the whole religion. Everything about our religion is within this response. That I only saw what is beautiful, and these are people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destined for them to be killed in this manner, and there will be a day of judgment. And we will be judged. That when you think about this world, when Imam al-Husayn salawatullahi alayhi was going towards Karbala, and he remembers Yahya ibn Zakaria ala nabiyina wa alihi wa alayhim salam, that he remembers that Nabi Yahya's head was gifted to a licentious woman or a licentious person of Banu Israel. That imagine that this Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this man who holds such great status and his head is gifted in this manner. What does this say about this world? That is this world just what we see before us? What develops materially? Or is there something more than this? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, whoever complains about what happens to him in this world, whoever complains, he says, man shaqya ila musibatan nazalat bih, or man shaqya fi musibatan nazalat bih, he says, faqad asbaha yashku rabbah. That if somebody complains about something that's happened to them, then they are complaining about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That this has befallen me, why has Allah done this to me? Why has Allah placed me in this tough situation? Why has Allah made me poor and other than me rich, for example? Why has Allah made me ill and other than me healthy, for example? We don't see that there's something at the end of the whole journey. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. That on this day of judgment, when the one who has been put through trial, when the one who has been put through trial sees the reward that he gets for the bala, for the trial that he went through in this world, he would say, oh Allah, why did you not make my whole life trial and bala? So I could get more of this reward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond to him that you didn't have the ability. In fact, there is a tradition that of the people that live a lot of trial through their whole life and bala, that on the day of judgment, there will be a special tree. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will gather the people around it that have been through trial all their life. And He will say, these people have no judgment. No judgment for them, straight to paradise. That they live their whole life during hardship, that they go straight to paradise. Sayyedah Zainab, salawatullahi alayha, is pointing out to the final abode, to the hereafter. She is giving us an idea of the foresight that we should have in this world. That no matter what difficulty that befalls us, we should always have that foresight. Because at the end of the day, we are subjects. We are servants of Allah. The verse in the Holy Quran that says, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. That the ones who are befallen by a trial or a difficulty, they say, verily, we belong to Allah, and unto Him we shall return. That this is the response. What is the meaning behind this response? The meaning behind this response is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala owns you. That you are admitting to absolute ownership, that I am a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so He does as He pleases with me. And unto Him we shall return. That after this happens, there will be something that will show. There will be something to show for. There will be a reward. There will be a judgment. There will be punishment for the people that do wrong. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, there is a tradition where he's about to mount on his riding animal. Usually it was a donkey that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would ride on. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam looks towards the heavens and he smiles. So they say to him, why are you smiling? And he says to them, he says, عُجِبْتُ لِلْمُؤْمِنِ لَا يَفْعَلَ اللَّهُ بِهِ شَيْئًا إِلَّا فِي صَالِحٍ. He says that I am amazed by the believer. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm amazed at the believer, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't do anything for them except what is good for them. The only thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places us through is what is good for us. Sayyedah Zainab salawatullahi alayha, she sees this beauty. That it's what is good for them. That Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and her Ahl al-Bayt will reach a status that none of us may ever reach. Now, I guarantee none of us would ever reach. But a status that even the shuhada would wish that they could reach. The actual martyrs. But some of us don't have the ability. Myself don't have, I'm sure Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will only test us with what we have the ability to cope with and what we have the ability to handle. Now we wish we could reach these high statuses, but do we have that ability to sacrifice, to give what is ours towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with everything that He does for us and keeps us in mind, all of the trials that come your way are for your own good. All the trials that come your way are for your development. They're for your hereafter. When we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a dua that's derived from the Holy Quran in the Qunut. We say to Allah, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنًا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنًا وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. We say, oh Allah, give us in this world goodness and in the hereafter goodness and protect us from the fire of hell. In a tradition, this verse specifically refers to having a good wife in this dunya and the hur al-ain in the hereafter. A good spouse in the dunya and a good spouse in the hereafter. He says, because for dunya hasana, goodness in this world is having a good wife. Wa fil akhirati hasana is having a good spouse in the hereafter. Wa qina adhab an-nar. Some of the mufassirin say that having a bad spouse in this world is like living in the fire of hell. It can be that bad. This is why when we hear about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, مَا أُوذِيَ نَبِيًّا مِثْلَ مَا أُوذِيتُ. There is no prophet that has been harmed in the same way that I have been harmed. And we hear about the harm of the prophet. We hear about the difficulty that the prophet went through. We hear about the prophet being attacked by the people, being slandered by the people, dirt was thrown on him, waste was thrown on him. But this is not what the Holy Prophet was talking about. These are bad things to happen to the Holy Prophet, bad things to happen to the greatest creation of Allah, but this is not what he was referring to. The Holy Prophet was referring to the household that he had to live in. He had to deal with a certain wife that kept giving him trouble his whole time. These certain people who were closest to him, that always gave him this difficulty and this trouble, who claimed to be closest to him, that gave him all of this trouble. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the greatest creation of Allah. Why did he have to go through this difficulty? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's best for His servants. He knows what's best for His servants. Had Rasulullah not gone through this, would it have the same impact on teaching the religion? Without a doubt it wouldn't. Because people will say, oh, Rasulullah was a king and everything was good for him, and he's teaching us about religion, and we'd walk away from it. Even with all of this difficulty, people still walked away from it. If you think about it, if you look at every stage of the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and we see within the stages of his life, the difficulty and the hardship that he went through is something that's unmatched. Even if we tried to put ourselves through difficulty, we couldn't match that difficulty. Imagine you are amongst a people who you have proven yourself to be a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you have that link with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then on your deathbed, when you ask, or when Rasulullah asks, give me a writing instrument and a paper or a piece of leather to write on you a testimony or a testament that after this you will never go astray. And what do they say? The man is delirious. He's hallucinating, he's delirious. And rather than people back him up, they say, oh, we're not sure. Some said yes, he is delirious, and some say something else. This is the difficulty and the hardship the Holy Prophet went through, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So just because somebody has a good life or an easy life does not necessarily mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them. And on the contrary, the whole purpose behind this life is that. The whole purpose behind this life is for us to go through these trials. For us to go through trial and tribulation. For us to overcome this trial. And this is what makes you the person that you are. At the end of the day, do you think that the Ahlul Bayt, the greatest, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his holy Ahlul Bayt, the greatest creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, these great people live their life. And then the others, their enemies, the people that used to kill them, the people that used to harm them, also live their life. And both enter paradise at the end. Is this justice? Not even the secular society accepts this as justice. If someone kills, they are punished. They are never forgiven for that. If somebody steals, they are punished. If somebody commits any crime that is contrary to the law of the land, they are punished. So why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, treated any differently? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Holy Quran quite clearly, أَحَسِبَ الَّذِينَ اشْتَرَحُوا السَّيِّئَاتِ أَن نَجْعَلَهُمْ كَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ سَوَاءً مَحْيَاهُمْ وَمَمَاتَهُمْ سَاءَ مَا يَحْكُمُونَ. That do they propose that the ones who commit crimes all the time, who commit sin all the time, will live and die just like the people who are good, who are believers and do good? How ill do they judge? That their life and their death will be the same? Of course it won't be. This is why the life of the Anbiya and the life of the Imams was like this. But Sayyedah Zainab salawatullahi alayha, the one who held the final message and the flag of all the messengers from before her, and she had that final message with her, she showed this small piece of wisdom. Although you could imagine how roughed up they had been from all this travel and everything, but with this one response, she instantly closed up any dialogue with that Khalif. The people around realized that this is somebody else. That what sort of a response is this? That she has an understanding with what she sees from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. مَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. That I saw only what is truly beautiful. Because she could see beyond the core of the actions. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us against our lower selves in the same way that He guides the righteous of His servants against their lower self. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our holy Imam Ashal Farj al-Sharif, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure our sick and have mercy on our dead and fulfill our debts. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة وآدى ثوابها إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات. تسبقها الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.